Hello and welcome back to the podcast, We Are Selling. My name's Lee Woodward, the author of the Complete Salesperson course. Today's podcast is brought to you by our sponsor, Nexar. Nexar is a dedicated real estate platform specialising in lead generation and database management of the entire real estate company for BDMs and agents working as one platform to generate opportunity. Nexar seamlessly integrates into your business systems, allowing you to have an extended solution. Let's get started with this week's episode. Welcome back to the podcast, We Are Selling. For today's episode, we're going to do something different. We are crossing live to the Complete Salesperson course in Sydney, where Stefon Bertram and Mr. Michael Dowling are sharing some incredible tips on creative follow-up. And to set the scene, we're actually in the Complete Salesperson course with the audience discussing the topic, when will it drop? And what we mean by that is every time we have a future seller, there's a forecasting moment into the future. Could be September, could be December, could be March, but when will that listing drop? And forecasting is such a great part of the creative follow-up process. And this is a highlight story for myself today, as I've known these two wonderful boys for over 15 years as they first attended the Complete Salesperson course in their very early 20s. Today, they have grown up into incredible business owners and now have their own real estate group, which is Pello. Mr. Michael Dowling, best year of transactions is 186 sales. That makes him in excess of $5 million performer in this country. And Stefon, who did 120 sales a year, yet is now the leader of the group. To arrive at this position of their career is absolutely amazing, and we'll discuss that journey in the live panel. And to see the boys back at the Complete Salesperson course with their complete team for 2 days of restudy and recoaching is an absolute credit to their leadership and their dedication to professional training. So let's pick up the conversation of where we are in the seminar, and I'm just discussing with Stefon about creative follow-up. Let's cross live to the seminar.
Whether you list with me or someone else, you want the property to shine. My landscape is amazing. He's actually going to be in the street next week. If you want, I can send him around, and that would be great, actually. It's like, great. Well, he also likes when I'm there. Would you like me to come along as well? And I'm happy to point out a few plants, and we can workshop what's going to make your property shine. And if they're inviting you back, and it's like they've told the other agent and yourself, we'll make a decision by next Tuesday. Don't call us, we'll call you. But you're not calling up tomorrow to say, have you made a decision? You're calling up tomorrow to say useful information. And it might cycle here for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Because you're oversubscribed, because you've done all this right, you get to disqualify data for a living rather than kind of like this take approach where you're constantly living with strangers. Now, what does that look like in our system?
Well, Michael was the example?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Michael would just expose your entire life to the audience, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's right. So, in the Michael's snapshot, he's done 28 appraisals in the last 30 days, 9 listings. He's converted 7 from off-market to on-market. So in Pello, we champion getting that $15,000 for marketing because it's a new result. Offers, 10 offers, 1's on a contract. Martin, you should probably step that up, buddy. He's sold 7 over the last, I think 6 of the 7's in the last week. But if you go to his radar, there's a seller radar. So weekly, he's got 111. That should be 50. So if I was coaching him, it'd be like either you're dragging your feet or you've just listed 7 and sold 6 in the last week. So you've got a really good excuse to let that blow out. But the sweet spot is 30 people, 30 to 50. Once you get over 50, I can tell that the agent's either getting a little bit complacent, not making the calls. And then you got the months of the year. And then if you open up April, like I can tell you a business because there's all of his clients in April. And it's like January 0, February 0, March. They've obviously had a massive March. They haven't got to their radar, which is a good problem to have. He's oversubscribed. But when you look at a business that way, like I can sit down with any of our agents and I can say the sweet spot would be last week of the month, you're on 0. Next month, you've got 150. The month after that, you got 50. And the month after that, you might have 25 to 50. The month after that, you might have 5 to 10. But then after 6 months, it's a witness protection program. Stop trying. Like most agents overcall the wrong people and they undercall the right people because they think that by keeping it on their radar, they'll stop their colleagues from calling it or something like that. Like we're really big on if they don't have a reason, then kiss the fish, throw it back. And then the associates will scoop it up, or your open homes will scoop it up, or your system marketing will scoop it up. But there is no active marketing. Active marketing is Spanish for I got no listings and I better go and spend some money. Or I've had a bad quarter, so I'm going to not do my suburb report. And that's the thing. Like when we set out to a marketing plan, like it was, we just, there were no date nights. There was no private experience. Like our marketing plan came first because it was a commitment. And I think that's that whole thing. Are you interested or are you committed? You get this right, real estate gets really fun really fast.
So at this moment in the Complete Salesperson course, Stefon has brought up their own software on screen and it's showing the months, the property opportunities and when they're going to drop. And I'm about to ask Michael Dowling now, what qualifies for someone to be on your radar? Let's cross back to the Complete Salesperson.
On my radar, you'll see there, so March, 239 people. So why that's blown out to 239 is I have had 2 good months in a row where I've been actively selling and listing quite a bit.
You don't have to explain yourself, mate.
They're more people that, so they've told me that they're going to be selling somewhere around sort of March to June this year.
So that's when they're going to drop?
So that's when they're going to drop. So I try and forecast that ahead of schedule. So if they say they're looking to do something in June or end of financial year, I'll try and put them on the radar in March and try and get ahead of all the other agents and start adding value. Well,
so why would they be July? So the 10 people in July here?
Yeah, so they've told me that they want to sell in spring. Okay. So somewhere around spring is what they're sort of looking at.
Or they're renovating the bathrooms, or they got the
they're tidying the place up now, and they might be looking at an end of financial year sale and sort of looking at possibly having me come around and appraise it after they've done all the renovations and got it all ready. So I'll put them in the bucket for that month. Yeah, then you got some later in the year where it's like those people have sort of said to me, they're old couples, for example, or people who their children are doing the HSC at the moment, and they've said that they're going to be doing something possibly in 2026. I'll put them in probably October, November or December just as a flag, just to remind me that person's son was finishing the HSC in November. Just want to triple check. I've got a few properties around the corner that are coming on the market. If you are going to be downsizing, why not come out late this year and have a look and see if I can tempt them? If not, kick it back into next year, early next year. So that's probably the best definition of radar is when are they going to drop?
So our experience is the industry is brilliant. Well, the top agents, what we call, like if this is cold, that is warm, this is hot, what we call that catch and kill. Most of the industry, like your $4 million agents, and we've got a few of those, and $5 million agents, most of them are brilliant at the catch and the kill. Or whether it was some of the other agents we worked in over the years, and we've been fortunate to work with these agents. The catch and the kill, it's like you meet them at an open and then you track them for the next 5 days to kick the door down or get in the door. And yes, it takes skill to be invited into the door rather than what the industry doesn't do well is the radar, where it's like they're mate, do not talk to me about selling. Like I do not want to talk about selling. I want to buy a house first. It's like, great, let us help you with that. We'd really love to help you with that. And then the next 3 calls, you do not talk about selling. But then the industry loses those people rather than putting them on your radar for next month or the month after. And then you can scoop them up again once you've earned the right. Or even better, the last mile is never crowded. The industry drops off. So all those big agents, they forget about them. It slips through the cracks. And then 3 months later, where you're calling them every 2 months and you remember because you got great notes. And it's like, I promised you I'll give you a call sort of July because you're thinking about possibly a spring campaign. Just want to see if you are keeping on the market. Yeah, but we're probably not going to sell at the moment. It's like, okay. And, I guess now that the dust has settled, what was the reason why you were looking at things? Oh, look, it's just the house is too big, but Craig can't decide what he wants to do. It's like, okay. And look, if you could get a great result and you could get a long runway. So rather than just a 3-month settlement, but maybe a 3 to 6 month lease back on top of that 3-month settlement. So if you had not just great money, because anyone could get you great money at the moment, but a long runway so we can help you find the next place. Do you think you would consider it then, or you absolutely wouldn't consider it? Oh, I guess we'd probably consider it. Like that's his concern is that we just can't find something. It's looking, I wouldn't be able to find something either if I was window shopping. But if you had the money in your pocket and you had up to 9 months, but with a 30-day trigger clause and that lease back option where you could cancel it at your discretion. 9 months is, it's a long time to find something. And, mid-twos is, it's a pretty significant budget when you're downsizing. But is it worthwhile maybe coming back around? Because since that transaction we had last week, it's really shaken up the pricing for your pocket. And we'd love to come back around and talk you through what do you need to know? What do you not need to know? So you become a property advisor. And we've always loved, that 3 to 9 months because it's uncontested, it's full fee, and you're invited. Actually, maybe we've just had the painters out. Probably about time. Like you just listed one, but how old would they be? 83?
Yeah, well, they're mid-80s and finally found a property that they're going to downsize to, but they've just loved the service. They actually had 4 agents out. They came through a couple of our properties, and then they just called me up and said, Michael, would you be interested in helping us? And it was just, obviously they weren't even on my radar because they hadn't come through any of my properties. And last time they told me sort of 12 months ago, 18 months ago, that they're not looking to move anymore and they were going to stay in the home forever. So sometimes it's just that right opportune time. But because of all the communication over the years, it became uncontested.
Be better than the open home, that catch and kill. Like it's just a beauty pageant. Like I'm calling 3 agents out. Can you get there Tuesday afternoon? It's just a beauty pageant. Like do a twirl. I like your bum. Great. You're the cheapest fees. It's really shit work. And it's highest price, lowest fee versus like earn the right or, buyer management, like our associates. We teach them 4 stages to world-class buyer management system. It's like, number 1, help them. It's not your data. Like it's the owner that coughed up 15 grand for marketing. So it's their data. So remove the commission breath and help them. Like the amount of agents and associates that you call them up and the first thing they're saying is, do you want to sell? Do you want to sell? Do you want to sell? It's like, mate, it's not your data. It's the owner's data. They paid for it. Once you realize that they can't afford the home that they're calling about or actually, so that tree, you couldn't get rid of it in the backyard. Then number 2 step out of the 4 is, are they a seller? And our dialogue to get that is, I'm so keen to help with your property search. And whereabouts are you guys coming from? Oh, we're in Ryde. Oh, Ryde. Which street in Ryde? And whenever you say that, your voice goes up. It's a higher pitch and you bamboozle them and they always tell you the street. And then the second they go, we're actually in Jones Street, Ryde. You move away from it. You dust the tracks and you stop talking about if they're a seller because you got the street. That's all you needed to know. And it's like, okay, great. Well, look, that's Jones Street's a beautiful street, but I'm so keen to help you for property search. So if you were to bring it down to 1 or 2, 3 things, what do you need in your next home? And then the rest of the call is all about their search. And then the third step is data acquisition, budget, or their reliable inspector, their urgency stars, which is in our radar, concessions and conditions. Have they made any offers or bids on a property? So there's 5 levels of data acquisition, which our associates are trained on. I think the biggest thing is concessions and conditions. Like, who are you talking with? The amount of agents that they don't even know the why of the customer. What is their data acquisition? But most importantly, like everyone's got nice to haves, but what are their need to haves? And the analogy there we always use is like, buyer walks into Mercedes to buy a car and he's got a few tattoos. And the salesperson's like, mate, let me show you. I got this one over here, black 18-inch wheels, V8 twin turbo. You're going to love it. It's like, mate, and then salesperson cuts him off. No, you're going to love it. Let's go take it for a test drive. Bumps into him. He's driving a Range Rover. He's like, I couldn't afford it anyway. It's like, mate, he was in there because a truck ran a red light, nearly killed his whole family. He's after a family car, but through just no questions, because questions sell, statements tell. You didn't ask him any questions. You don't know his conditions. You just judge the book by its cover. I thought he's out for a C63 or something like that. It's like versus what do they need in a property? And I think going back, because Lee was one of the best that ever taught us with buyer management, but it's like, what does the customer need? It's not about us. It's about them.
Well, actually, I'm missing part of the story here. Star Partners, you guys had that opportunity of running a business. That's a thrill-seeking moment where it's not about your professional selling careers anymore. It's about everybody else. You had a chance to sell. You did. You both exited out of the business and went over to a large brand where for the first time you were competing against each other, which was very unusual for you two. Michael, how was that time?
Big learning curve. It was interesting. Like obviously running EBU, sort of developing the EBU, sort of east side and west side of Lane Cove Road, competing with Stefon. It was a bit strange. And obviously we liked parts of that, parts of the branding that we created and what they sort of have implemented. But then there was a lot of it that we didn't like as well. So yeah, there was obviously the sort of dog eat dog world of EBUs within a business and no team, all one dream individuals sort of going out for it. I think we just wanted something completely different as far as Unity.
Actually, I interviewed you when you were there. You'd had a phenomenal year of figures. And then, Stefan, you decided to completely change areas. Ride to Mossman is quite a significant jump.
Yeah. Went from $1.3 million average sell price to $6 million overnight. And then, but I think that, to Michael's point, like we had heaps of fun at Star Partners. Like, we took a brand that was Western Sydney. We didn't know that at the time. We just thought it was a nice bunch of guys, brought it into middle class Sydney around that ride area. And then we had an opportunity to sell 18 months in, was it? Where we got a tap on the shoulder. We're this close. And then we decided not to because we were doing it for the wrong reasons. And we stuck at it. And then we ended up buying LJ Hooker in the street, amalgamating 2 offices, renovating our second office and shutting the first. And we got up to 20 staff. And then that's when we started to see some pretty big cracks in the business. And we thought we probably bit off more than we could chew. And I think it's like, rather than trying to pursue a mastery, it's like sometimes you got to, it's like, rather than being average at a lot of stuff, what if you could be great at a few things? Michael started his EBU. I started my EBU. And I think that maybe some of the leadership we had was probably win at all costs kind of thing. And it started to get a little bit like, we didn't speak for 6 months and that like we should have been celebrating. And and I think that's the thing is this industry, sometimes it's not always about 2xing, 10xing at all costs. Like we talk about it, like we'll help you put a bigger engine in your car, but we're also going to make sure you upgrade the brakes at the same time. Especially for young guys coming through, like, look, I think, money doesn't change who you are. It just amplifies who you really are. As this industry, again, it can give you a beautiful life, but working 6 days a week, I think I sold 120 houses that year. The only coaching was like, how do we get you to 200? And it's like, well, I've just got married. I've just had my first child. I'd like to stay married. And Michael had a couple of kids by that stage. So there was a guy that was a bit of a mentor and he owned the Bell Property Mossman office. And I originally reached out to him because like, you've been married once and you've got 4 kids, where for me, it sort of got to a point where I lost the fun. It was funny hearing that lady where it's just about numbers. It's about getting 2xing, 10xing. It's like, well, hang on, how about you 1x or you just calm down and then you go and lose 20 kilograms? Or like, how about you focus on your, becoming a better version of you, rather than just trying to get to that next levels. I ended up selling out of the business. And then that mentor, he wanted to get into property development. So I bought his business. And it was a bit of a baptism of fire. I think when you go from 1.3 million fibro shacks to Mossman, but we're a people business. One thing I learned is nobody cares about relationships. They only care about substance. And when you shake someone's hand, you look them in the eyes and say, when your back's turned, I'm going to be doing everything humanly possible to give you the absolute best money. That's all people care about. Like we take ourselves way too seriously. And look, I'm very big on knowing your stuff. But I think we're not saving lives. I think, and that was the best thing we did. And then Alex Menton, who's our partner in the Upper North Shore office, we decided to do a business together. We looked at McGrath heavily because that's where I came from. We looked at Bell, had multiple sit downs with both boards in detail, but we decided to go our own path for 3 reasons. And then Michael got wind and he's like, the band's getting back together. Let's do it.
Michael, you win a lot of business out there. Back to my original question. Why do people list with you?
I think it's changed over the years. That's probably the best answer. I think now people list with me for security. Obviously, we're in a tougher market at the moment, and I've got results on the board and some serious case studies that I can sit in front of them and actually show security and great results, also in comparison to other agents' results in the area. Obviously, track record and knowledge of the area now that I've been in the area for 15 years is key as well. So the other day I was sitting down with a client and it was that old couple and they'd already interviewed 4 agents and they had their son there from Canberra and turned around and basically said, guys, I'm not sure if any of the other agents have mentioned this to you, but you're 1 block out of the flood zone and that's going to provide developers with an opportunity to knock down and rebuild without having to actually raise it off the ground or have any issues around DA approval versus CDC approval. Did anyone else speak to you about that? Their mind was just blown. Like it was just, I showed them the flood map, which I've got saved on my phone as an automatic hyperlink and you can just click on it. And then I zoomed into their house and I said, see how this house here is all blue? It's sort of medium blue. It's not dark blue, but it's not the light blue. that means the one next door to you, they can't do what you can do. We can educate buyers on that because even though you're the low section of the street, we can really show buyers that they can do what they want with this just by showing them that map. Even though they had called me up and I knew that I was 90% certain to get the business already because of the 15-year relationship, that was like a final nail in the coffin, and I just wasn't going to lose it after that. But that's the reason. It's just that product knowledge. Now, when I first started out, I think it's very similar to a few of our guys, like obviously Connor and Omid and even Johnny to a certain extent still now. Like they're winning it on sort of just pure will. Like they're now combining the skill with the will, but at the same time, it's rather than do that creative follow-up call tomorrow when every agent will do it. It's find a valid reason to add value tonight, 3 hours after your listing appointment. Like when every other agent's sleeping tonight and you're on the phone at 7 o'clock adding value with a painter or gardener or meeting them down at the property for a second time because there's something that you want to show them, that's adding value before the other agent can even blink. These guys are doing that hands down way ahead of their competition. And that's how I used to win business when I was first out.
And the other point, Michael's the same way, there's no shortcut to a great price. You'll never have a good big business if you don't have a good small business. Like still to this day, like we did a trading thing for a team the other day about selling marketing. Michael still does case studies like this, like where it used to be, and he's trying to explain the difference of like why his marketing is more expensive. And he's got before and after photos of this was the property with the other agent and this is the property with me. There's just nothing left to chance. Sorry, the vendors can just see it, and
it's just real decisive points of differences.
And that's the message I give anyone. Like Michael's biggest year was 186 transactions, and it's like if he's still got time to do that.
And for the national read, what's that in GCI?
5.4 million.
And,
can we see a case study, Stefon?
Yeah, absolutely. So like this is, we've got a virtual assistant team over in the Philippines. Every time a transaction exchanges, the Peloton app sends it over to them. They've already got all the content. They've got the photos. They've got the floor plan. They've got the offers from the system. But yeah, like this is built, but it's the agent's job to actually add, like we say, that's the bones, but you need to add the clothing to it. You need to dress it with. So, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, this property here, we started guiding it at 7. We got them world-class exposure. Like I know it's expensive in this market to spend 15, 20,000 in advertising. By doing it right, we actually got it picked up by the local paper and we got them $50,000 worth of advertising for free. But then these were some other transactions that happened in the street. Throughout the campaign, we ended up having 120 buyers through the doors. The first offer was 6.8. Second offer was 7. We decided to go to auction. The first bid at auction was 7. We went all the way up to 7,850,000. They were about to take it, and they just turned it over to me and said, "Stefon, we trust you. What do you think we should do here?" And I just said, "Look, you've got 2 buyers. They're this close. I feel like if you want to roll the dice, I think we could get a bit more." So 7.8 turned into 8 million. Then 8 million turned into 8,050,000. Then we had an auction after the auction, and then at 7:37 at night, I'm driving over to Woolloomooloo to lock it down, and we ended up trading that property for 8,100,000. And that extra 360,000 difference, that's 360,000 reasons to choose Pello, because we won't stop until we get you every last dollar. And that's that conviction. Words are so easy. Well, actually, no, they're not. For a lot of people, there's no free kicks in real estate. No free words. People do say some average stuff on the phone, but you can learn some great dialogue. Not everyone's audio. A lot of people are visual, and that's like the Zig Ziglar talking pad. How do you be able to draw and tell your message while using case studies, before and afters? Our photos are $970 and the last agent was $370, but when you zoom them in, they're pixelated. And I just decided to explain the value once rather than keep apologizing for poor performance over and over again. Just a decision that we made. I'd rather have a hard conversation with you right now up front. It's 8 o'clock at night. I wish I've got 3 kids at home. Like, it's much easier for me to be kissing them goodnight than me sitting here. But I've just learned by skipping this step and just having the easy conversation with you now, it leads to a really hard conversation in 4 weeks. And I've just graduated from doing business that way. And when you have that conviction, they're not going to choose the agent they've known for 20 years and the kids went to the same private school and they're members of the same golf club. Like, nobody cares about that. Like, they care about when all is said and done, who's going to get them the best price.
Final question for both of you, and this is, let's go back now. The two of you speaking to many of these agents that are coming through the rank when you guys were coming through the ranks. What do they need to budget for or do to, because you guys can make it look easy, if that makes sense, and you know what I mean by that, but I want to go back to the grind. Someone's got to do the work.
Yep.
What would be your advice, Michael?
Yeah, so from a sales agent point of view, I think one key thing that I think you can do from the very first get-go is the radar list and creating sort of a chip and chase list, not just sort of adding value when you need to, adding value well before you actually sort of can call upon that value. I think that's the biggest key that I probably wish I got to know a lot earlier. I would have had probably a lot more clients quicker, probably would have had a lot more sort of jump up to be serious sellers quicker. That's the big thing. So you get that via the door knocking, the cold calling, the sticking to the street campaigns, structured prospecting, just escalating them to the when are they going to drop program is probably what I would have implemented earlier.
Awesome. Stefon?
When we sit down with associates or new agents, we ripped off your find, list, communicate, sell, and find, list, communicate, sell, but we've added two more, time management and culture. And to get it, just say, it's 240 connections per week. It's 30 minutes of exercise, and there's no way of us checking that. But if you can't help yourself, how are you going to help our clients? And then it's 5 to 7 MAs per week. Once you do that, no, we're not going to start you on bias like everyone else does. We're going to teach you how to be a hunter so you can become market proof. And how do you be recession proof? Be a hunter. And then once you graduate from find, then we are going to load you up with the photo shoots, the campaign appointments, the dropping the bottle of champagne at 8 o'clock at night. And you do get rewarded financially for that to make a campaign shine, because anyone can do it with their eyes closed. So anyone can do it with not being blindfolded. But like if we make it a bit harder, because in real estate as an agent, you don't get to sit there and call people all day. So we're going to load you up with appointments. Then we're going to teach you buyer management. And then if you still got a smile on your face and you're right for culture and you're a great corporate citizen, then we're going to teach you how to list. And then we're going to teach you how to leave a trail of raving fans rather than a trail of destruction. I think having a plan that starts with being a hunter, like whether Tom Hector says it best, you got a list to last. If you're an associate and you're not doing 60 connections, not 60 dialed, but 60 connections a day, you're interested, you're not committed. If you're an agent and you're not oversubscribed and you're not doing like 30 to 40 connections a day, again, like it's a numbers game and you need to make those calls. Yes, the calls need to sound good, but the biggest thing's training. The number one thing, and I'm not giving him a plug, but the number one thing is this, but it's not this session. It's the implementation. Brian Tracy, I think, said once, if you spend an hour a day studying your chosen craft, you will double your income within 12 months. And then if you do it for 5 years, you'll be in the top 2% of the planet of your chosen industry. Now, everyone's like, oh, that's not true. But it's like the people I know that have done it, that's where they've landed. Like Phil Harris doesn't just take notes here and then put it in the shelf. Show up to the office 7:30 every day for a year and just listen back to audio. It's like this whole session's a $30 book now. Like we used to pay $395 a month for the hot topics, and then we would argue with each other who got the actual CD and who got the burnt copy.
No. Are you burning copies?
Yeah, don't tell anyone. Mate, we were poor.
Who gets the gold edition? The gold edition.
That's it. Last month you got the real thing, and you had to like every second thing you'd skip, and it's like, but there's no shortcut to a great price, and there's no shortcut to a great career. But if you crack the code, it's a beautiful industry. You're not doing 7 years of university to then be on call 24/7. Like I've sold for surgeons and like they're halfway through a meeting and they're like, I got to go. I'm sorry, honey, I got to go. And then like, if that's your daughter's birthday, you're going to save someone's life because they just wrapped their motorcycle around a pole or something. This is a beautiful industry. You can block out your morning and go to the Easter hat parade. Like Michael's brilliant at that. Like his daughter's playing for the same rep squad he played for when he was at her age. And it's just not negotiable. He blocks it out. Doesn't matter if a client's saying, oh, I'm going to pick the other agent. Good luck. I'll catch you on the rebound because he's oversubscribed.
Well, how was that for a panel?
Thanks, mate.
Stefon, congratulations, guys. And the journey's only halfway there. The Palo Group is now booming on and training others.